Well, the Biden administration's EPA issuing their biggest crackdown on gas-powered cars to date. Our next guest is leading a coalition of 25 states to block the rule. They say it'll sacrifice the American auto industry to the radical green agenda. Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman joins us now. Good morning, Russell. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Nicole. Good morning from the Bluegrass State.
So I've heard you say that this new EPA restrictions will actually take American jobs, move them overseas to countries that actually have poor emissions rules than we do here. What are you doing to combat this, and how do you think it'll hurt Americans?
I'll tell you, Nicole, it's a lot like President Reagan's comment to Carter. There they go again, and again, and again, and again with this administration. It is yet another iteration of a radical green policy, a radical green agenda where the emperor ultimately has no clothes. I'm speaking to you from Kentucky. You think bourbon and horse racing, you think the Kentucky Derby, you don't think of 58,000 automobile jobs here in the Commonwealth alone. Throughout the Southeast now, we have become a region of auto jobs, and those jobs will be driven not only out of our Commonwealth, but will be driven out of our country through this radical agenda, through this new tailpipe policy.
Well, and through the new policy, essentially, they are demanding that everyone shift to EV vehicles. But here's the problem that's going on with EV vehicles. The consumer demand is not there. Ford Motor Company alone reported a $4.7 billion loss last year because they're creating these EV vehicles, which, by the way, to create them has a larger footprint than making gas-powered vehicles, and they're just sitting vacant on lots because people can't afford them. And also, 2023 consumer reports show EVs had a 79% more problems than conventional cars. So how can we combat that?
Well said, Nicole. Let's be very clear. My colleagues, the 25 Republican attorneys general from across the country, we're not anti-electric vehicle. We're pro-free market. And the reality is there's just not the demand for these vehicles, per your comment. I'm sitting in a state that has 1% of the market is EV, 1% of the market here. But yet the Biden administration is, through these regulations, are seeking by 2030. And Look, I went to law school to avoid math. I won't wear you out with statistics. But the reality is this regulatory scheme envisions a 50% increase, that 50% rather of the market will be electric vehicle by 2030, 70% of the market, 70% of the market in a decade. Look, in a state that has 1% of the market. These will shut down. These will calcify and shut down the market in terms of folks' ability to buy gas-powered vehicles. We love our trucks here in the Commonwealth. We love our F-150s. We produce F-250s here. That market will no longer be present. To folks sipping their coffee this morning, this is not someone just beating the podium. This is very real and threatening to your ability to buy a gas-powered vehicle.
Well, at the end of the day, if they can't afford them and they can't rely on them, they're certainly not going to get them. Thanks for joining us this morning. More Fox and Friends coming up next.